counts. So when you're out there, say a little thanks to those hardworking individuals. Karen?
Good morning. Thank you, Chair Sacosta, for your remarks and your leadership. I'm Karen Brinson Bell. I am the Executive Director of the North Carolina State Board of Elections and North Carolina's Chief Election Official. In addition to Chair Sacosta, I'm also joined by our agency's General Counsel, Paul Cox. Election Day is significant for many reasons. It's a testament to our democracy and the right of our fellow citizens to vote and have their voices heard. It's the finale to 2 months of absentee by mail voting and more than 2 weeks of in-person early voting. This day will be life-changing for the hundreds of candidates who are committed to representing our communities. And just as significant, today, bipartisanship and volunteerism are on display as thousands of community members give of their time to work at more than 2,600 voting sites. This morning, nearly every polling place across the state opened on time. We know of 4 delays. The Gaddy's polling place in Robeson County opened approximately 1 hour late because the building was locked and the voters did not have the correct access code to enter the building. Additionally, 3 sites in Columbus County were delayed in opening due to the check-in computers not being connected properly to the printers, and therefore the workers were unable to print the voters' authorization to vote forms. While it is unfortunate that these delays have occurred, they are in no way nefarious or fraudulent. These things happen. The counties quickly corrected the situations with assistance from State Board staff, and right now, all polling places are fully operational. The State Board of Elections will hold a virtual emergency meeting early this afternoon to determine if any voting should be extended at these sites. If the board does extend the closing time at these sites or any others, we will not release results from the affected counties until all their precincts finish voting. We will, however, start releasing initial results at approximately 7:30 p.m. for all other counties where the polls close at 7:30 p.m. Please remember, county boards of elections will first upload the absentee by mail and one-stop early voting results. Election Day results will be reported on the State Board website, ncsbe.gov, as the results and other election materials are delivered to the county boards of elections. Because precinct officials must drive from Election Day voting sites to the County Board of Elections offices, the release of Election Day results will not be immediate and may go late into the night. All results released on election night are unofficial. Any contests that are declared will be done so by the media, candidates, or political scientists. The State Board of Elections and the County Boards of Election do not declare winners on election night. Please keep these situations and the few incidents we have reported in perspective. We have more than 2,600 polling places open today, and delays occurred in a handful of locations. We have been voting since early September, with more than 2 million ballots cast prior to today. To date, we only have 15 reported allegations of voter or election official interference or intimidation. And thus far, this morning, we have received no additional incident reports that rise to this level. Our processes are working, and we are proud of the incredible work of North Carolina election officials and the partnerships with local, state, and federal officials that have all worked to ensure we can deliver safe, secure, fair, and accurate elections to the voters of North Carolina. We are happy to take your questions at this time, and thank you for being with us. We'll first take questions from the room, if there are any. If you'll go to the mic, please. Thank you.
Sorry, Mike McElroy with Cardinal and Pine. In those 15 reported instances you have of intimidation or otherwise things, was it reported immediately to elections officials on site, and did that process take care of the issue in those instances in the way that it's supposed to?
So where the incidents occurred, it was reported either there at the voting site or if it occurred at the County Board of Elections. And they have notified the State Board of Elections so that we can investigate. If needed, they've reported it to law enforcement. The 15 have all different variables, so, but everything went as we would intend it to.
Thank you.
Any other questions in the room? Keith, if there are questions online or virtually?
At this time, we'll go to our reporters online. We ask you to press 1 if you have a question. Our first question is from Courtney Bunting with WITN-TV. Go ahead, Courtney.
Yes, good morning. I'm just checking to make sure you can hear me okay.
I can, Courtney.
Okay, thank you. I just wanted to get your perspective in response to the increased interest in mail-in voting, absentee voting over the last few years, and if there's any response you have or any thoughts you have about the impact that that increase may have on this election, any foreseen challenges or any that you've seen in the past because of that increased interest. Any response to just your thoughts about how that seems to be growing in popularity, maybe not so much this year compared to past years, but certainly seems to be something that people are more aware of now because of what we've gone through over the past few years.
So we do offer 3 voting methods in North Carolina: absentee by mail, in-person early voting, and election day in-person voting. What we have seen during the pandemic, we saw a substantial increase in folks wanting to vote absentee by mail. I think that's for obvious reasons, given the pandemic, given the safety issues, given the vulnerable population that had concerns about voting in person at that point in time. I think because of that experience, they saw how easy a voting method that is, and many opted to request absentee ballots for this election and use that as their voting method. It certainly did not rise to the level of participation in that voting method this election as we saw during 2020, but it did substantially exceed what we saw in 2018. So I think, what North Carolinians have realized is that we have a solid process in absentee by mail voting. We do require the signature of the voter. They give identifying information when they make that request. When they actually vote that ballot and put that in the return envelope, they sign attesting that they were the voter, and they are witnessed by 2 individuals who attest that they were the voter, and those witnesses sign. Alternatively, they can use a notary public to attest that they were the voter who marked that ballot and put it into the return envelope. So, it's a very popular voting method that I think we'll continue to see use of, and potentially more substantial use.
Thank you.
Our next question is from Liliana Pearson with WB-TV. Liliana, go ahead.
Hi, good morning. Thank you for hosting this today. We had an instance yesterday of one school board member taking signs from the supporter of another school member. I was hoping you could just take a few minutes to address some of the concerns that people have with election intimidation and the work that you guys have done to make sure that you are able to run a safe and smooth election.
I wish that in my 16 plus years of working in election, I could say there was an election where signs were not an issue, but I can't. That is just, it's something that comes up with every election. We certainly have seen that this time around. And what we've seen is that there is some elevated tempers and temperature among our campaigners and our canvassers. We ask that everybody just use some civility. I think that's where the problems are, whether it's about signs or how we're approaching the voters when they are in the electioneering area and the voters are walking to the polling site. And it's, I don't think it's been incredibly out of the norm. Again, every election we have issues with signs. Most of the sign regulations are actually monitored by the ordinances of the towns and the counties in which they are placed. But beyond that, most of our interactions are about the disclosures. And then, if it is disruptive at a voting site, then we try to intervene, de-escalate, and hopefully we can keep it to that.
Our next question is from Daniela Cheslow with the Wall Street Journal. Go ahead, Daniela.
Hi, sorry about that. Do you know how many absentee ballots are currently either disqualified or under consideration because not all of the signatures or other necessary things were filled out?
I don't have those numbers in front of me. Our absentee data is something you can request of our PIO if you would, please.
Thanks.
Our next question is from Casey Jones. Casey Jones with the Queen City News. Go ahead, Casey.
Hello, thank you for hosting this press conference today. My question is, are there any counties that you're watching closer than others for any sort of intimidation or interference? And does that change your operations there at all?
You know, our job at the State Board of Elections is to oversee all 100 counties. We strive to give them equal support, equal resources, equal training materials, and you know, there's every voter is equally important. And so everything that we're doing today across all 100 counties is to ensure that every voter is able to exercise their right to vote. And, you know, we don't want there to be intimidation, interference, or anything of that nature to occur in any of our polling sites across the state. And we have worked with law enforcement officials across the state to ensure that if need be, if we're not able to de-escalate a situation or remedy a situation, that we can call in our law enforcement partners to help do that, because our first and foremost objective is to ensure that every eligible North Carolinian is able to exercise their right to vote today.
Our next question is from Kate Martin with NBC News. Kate Martin, go ahead.
Hi, thank you for taking my question. I'm regarding the absentee ballots. I know the process is a little bit different than it was during the pandemic. You have to get 2 signatures, and I imagine there's some folks who may not do that entirely properly. I'm wondering if you can kind of go over what the cure process is for the voter if they get a chance to, remedy that situation, or how does that work here?
Yes, in 2020, the legislature and the State Board of Elections worked to make an exception for the pandemic to where we only required 1 witness signature, and this year we went back to the, as prescribed by law, for 2 witnesses or 1 notary public. And if a voter does not have all the proper signatures or information, then we do have an extensive numbered memo that outlines the cure process. Do you want to go over that at all in more detail? Okay. I'll turn it over to Paul Cox for greater detail.
So the State Board has official written guidance in the form of a memorandum called a number memo that discusses all of the ways that an absentee ballot may be accepted or deficient for some reason. An absentee ballot can be cured by the voter by an affidavit if they failed to sign themselves or they signed in the wrong place. Any other deficiency on the ballot, typically, a second witness didn't sign, for example, can't be fixed by an affidavit. You have to actually send a new ballot out to the voter, and they would have to, resubmit with their 2 witnesses.
Okay, and then just to be clear, like a lot of folks have signed up for the ballot tracks, and you get an email that says, that your ballot was accepted. If it was deficient in some way, would it notify voters of that?
The ballot track system tracks where your ballot is in the transit, so it'll let you know when the ballot arrives at the Board of Elections and it has been received by their mail system. The Board of Elections themselves would reach out to you if your ballot were deficient. So if a voter's ballot didn't, they would let, if they have your phone number, they call you. They would certainly email you, or if you have your email, and send you a letter if they don't have a phone or email.
Okay, thank you.
Do we have any additional questions on the phone at this time? If so, press 1 to ask a question. I don't see any additional questions, Director Bell. I'll turn it back to you.
We appreciate everyone's attendance today, and we just encourage folks to get out and vote. Our polling places are open until 7:30 p.m. and potentially longer at these few delays pending the decision of the State Board. Thank you to our election officials for their participation today. The days are long, but their commitment is even longer. So we appreciate all that they do and the exceptional work of our county boards of elections. Thank you.